Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to make green tomato salsa. This all happened because I had a couple of tomato plants that fell over due to some storms. And that was largely because I hadn't pruned them in a while and they got really top heavy. So anyways, these tomato plants had some red tomatoes on them, but it also was covered in green tomatoes. And I didn't want to waste them, so I went ahead and just pulled all them off and made green tomato salsa. This is very similar to salsa verde, which is usually made with tomatillos, but we're using green tomatoes today. What I am doing is I'm going to roast all of my vegetables first, just so they get soft. So what I am doing is I am roasting jalapenos. Right here I'm showing you kind of what indicates a spicy jalapeno. So I have one jalapeno that's completely smooth and shiny, and then I have another one that is very cracked. Generally the cracked ones tend to be the more spicy ones. Those are going to be the more mature jalapenos, but the ones that are not cracked, those ones tend to be the more mild ones. We're not going for anything mild here specifically. I'm not, picking out mild ones or not mild ones or spicy ones. But I am just cutting up my jalapenos because, as you can tell, I have a large quantity of them. So yeah, anyways, I'm just cutting all my jalapenos in half. I'm just literally leaving them whole. We like spicy stuff, so I'm leaving all the seeds and ribs in them. I've also cut up some onions, and then I had a little bit of frozen garlic that I had left over that I went ahead and threw on the pan as well. And then once I get this all done, I'm going to throw it all into a 400-degree oven, and I'm gonna just cook it until it's soft, basically. I'm not going for any specific type of char. I'm just trying to get everything soft and cooked down so that I can throw it all into the blender and get a nice, good, smooth consistency. I actually have about 6 more gallons of green tomatoes that are currently in an electric roaster on my counter right now. I made this salsa, and it's a little spicier than what I had intended, but it's fine. We can use it as regular salsa. I would say it's like on the hotter side of medium. I wouldn't call it hot salsa, but I would call it medium, but like on a spectrum from like hot to mild. It's more on the hot end of medium. I wouldn't say it's hot, but it's a warmer medium. Anyways, I had hoped that it would be very like medium to medium mild so that I could use it on stuff like chicken enchiladas and like white chicken chili, but it's kind of spicy, so I won't be able to, use it. What is the word I'm looking for? Use it liberally whenever I'm feeding my kids. So what I'm going to do with the stuff that I'm making now is I'm going to make it more mild so that I can use it to season things like that. So I can use it for enchiladas, so I can use it for chili, so I can use it for whatever I please. And we will just use this green stuff for Cameron and myself, or just chips and salsa. We've also been sharing it. Lots of people really like it. I will say that my husband did not believe me that this was going to taste good. He told me I was crazy whenever I said I was going to make green tomato salsa, and I made it, and then he told me that he thinks he likes it better than my red salsa. Do I have an actual recipe for any of this? No, I do not. And that is largely because it depends on what you are using. If I say, you're going to use this many Roma tomatoes and this many jalapenos and onions and whatnot, it depends on, your water content of your tomatoes, and it depends on the spiciness of your peppers. And it just depends on how acidic you want your salsa or what consistency. Like, all of that stuff varies. So really it's just the secret to making good salsa is to taste it. That's the secret. And honestly, I think the secret to making good green salsa is don't be afraid of the sugar. Like I don't put sugar in my red salsa, but in my green salsa, green tomatoes are very sour, and so you basically mitigate that sour flavor with sugar, and then you still end up adding acid, so it has like an acid flavor. I don't know the science of it. I just know that's the ingredients you need. You need the sugar to cut the sour of the tomatoes, and you need the acid to brighten the flavor. I feel like you also need salt. You need, if you don't want it hot, I guess you don't have to put peppers in it. I would recommend it. Onions, depends on how you feel about them. How many you want to use will depend on how you feel about them. There are people that think cilantro tastes like soap. I feel sorry for those people. Cilantro is delicious. You can never have too much of it. So put all of it in there. But yeah, my husband thought it was crazy. It's delicious. I really recommend that you give this a try. I know it's kind of late in the season for where I am located. We're well past our last frost. But if you've got some green tomatoes that you pulled off the plants in hopes that you could do something with them, you might give this a try. I also, I have not done it yet. I have some more green tomatoes that are sitting in my refrigerator that I have intentions of slicing up and trying to can for future use in, what is it called? Fried green tomatoes. I saw this recipe. I just saw it on Pinterest, I guess, where you take tomatoes, slice them, and then you just put them in, like a jar, fill it with water, and put like a tablespoon of salt and not a tablespoon of salt, a teaspoon of salt and a tablespoon of lemon juice, and then you just hot bath can it. And then whenever you're ready to can them, you can dump them out, dry them off, bread them, fry them, and they taste like normal. So we're going to give that a try. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but what can I lose? Like, basically, I would have thrown these tomatoes away. I mean, not really, because I could have made green salsa with them, but I've got plenty of it. I could have either let them go bad out in the garden, or I could pull them off and try to do something with them. Basically at the cost of lemon juice and salt. That's about it. So that is what we are going to try there. I will share that with you whenever I do it. I will let you know how it goes, and I will try before I actually share the video of how I made them, the attempt to make fried green tomatoes with the canned tomatoes, just to see how it turns out. And I'll let you guys know the verdict on it. So anyways, that is to come. I just realized that I forgot to say garlic as an ingredient. So here's like the basic recipe. I'm not going to tell you quantities, but I'm going to tell you what goes into this. So you're going to have your tomatoes, onions, and peppers. You are going to roast those at 400 degrees until they are soft. There's no time on that. It depends on how big your tomatoes are, blah, blah, blah. Just roast them until they're all soft. And then you are going to blend them up. You don't have to blend them. You can choose to chop them. I just think blending's easier. And you get like a really nice smooth consistency. I also don't skin my tomatoes or, what am I looking for? Take out the seeds of anything. One, that takes a bunch of time. And two, if you're blending it up, it really doesn't make that big of a difference if you have a good quality blender. This is a Ninja. It's one of the highest rated blenders on the market. So I would just, if you've got a decent blender, just blend them all up. I know that Becky from Acre Homestead, whenever she makes green salsa, she does the same thing that I do, except for she strains it whenever she cans it. I don't do that. I don't care enough. And nobody in my family really cares. Just eat your salsa. Anyways, so after you've baked them and then blended them up, You're going to add your additional seasonings like salt, sugar. Depending on what kind of garlic you're using, if you're using like cloves, you want to roast that with your onions and tomatoes. I use a combination of clove garlic and garlic powder because I use the rest of my clove garlic and then I use the rest of my garlic powder as well because it needed it. That's 100% depending on your taste. I personally love the flavor of garlic. It is delightful, so I put it in basically everything. If you don't like garlic so much, don't put very much of it in there or leave it out, I guess. But it depends on what kind of garlic you're using. Will depend on where you're going to put it. But if you use cloves, you definitely want to roast them with the rest of your vegetables so that it gets soft and can easily blend up. So your seasonings are going to be salt, garlic powder if you don't have garlic cloves, and sugar. You want to make sure you're using like what is it called? Non-iodized salt. I generally just use pickling salt. Iodized salt can change the color of your product. It doesn't really affect the like taste so much. It just makes the color not so great. So just use like pickling salt or Redmond's real salt. That's like salt in its purest form. It doesn't have any additives. And then for your sugar, you want to make sure it is like just plain white sugar. Don't use some other, I mean, you can use like cane sugar, that's fine, but don't use some other weird sweetener. It won't work the same. And then you need an acid. You can either use lime juice or lemon juice. In this particular batch that I made, which I'll show you at the end. I can't remember how many I made. It was a lot. I used an entire quart of lemon juice. And I just it was like the best choice brand of lemon juice, which means that's pretty high in citric acid. You can buy like organic lemon juice. You can squeeze your own lemon juice if you want. You can buy organic lime juice. You can squeeze your own lime juice if you want. I would recommend if you are making a large quantity like this to just buy buy the juice. Don't try to squeeze enough for yourself or enough by yourself because that's going to take a million years. But yeah, I used a whole quart in this full batch that I made. And basically I just kept adding ingredients until it tasted right. So I started with, peppers and tomatoes and onions and garlic. What little bit of clove garlic I did have, blended those up, and then I just started adding other seasonings. I knew I was going to need salt, so I added that pretty early in. And I just kept adding and adding until it tasted right. You will want to run your cilantro through a food processor as well so that it adds, this doesn't take away from the consistency that you're going for. If you like cilantro. Everything is if you like it. If you don't like something, just leave it out. If you don't like tomatoes, I would recommend not making salsa. Moral of the story. But, if you like garlic, use it. If you don't like garlic, don't use it. Cilantro, same thing. You do need to use salt. You do need to use sugar. And you do need to use lemon juice. I feel like I'm repeating myself excessively. And then to can this, I did not have a recipe, obviously, if you can't tell. I just made this up. I think I just canned this for the same amount of time that I canned my quarts of red tomato sauce. So, that's not the most technically correct way to do it. I think I was canning the tomato sauce for, 25 minutes. Maybe it was 30 minutes. So that's just how long I can this, the green salsa as well, just to make sure it was canned enough. It's really high in acid, and it's also got sugar, which is also a preservative. So it probably really didn't need that long. You just want to make sure you get it heated through mostly. Should be shelf stable for a few years. There's nothing in there that would make me concerned about it. I did have one jar that didn't seal properly, and I think that was just probably because I didn't get the rim cleaned off well enough. For those who don't know much about canning, I would recommend just buying, there's like a ball canning book. I will link it down in the description. That's the one I've been using for years and years and years. And it is a very good, well-rounded, basic canning book. I know Becky from Acre Homestead uses the same book. It's got recipes for all kinds of stuff if you need a recipe. If you don't use recipes, like I don't, I literally just make stuff up all the time. So it does have like a recipe for salsa and a recipe for jam and whatever. It's got recipes for all the stuff. So, but it does also have good instructions on water bath canning and pressure canning. You could also pressure can this if you wanted to. If you wanted to be safe, you could pressure can it. It takes longer to do that, so I didn't do it. This is where we started with a whole bunch of jalapenos and a whole bunch of green tomatoes. And we ended with 24 pints of green salsa and 6 quarts of green salsa, as well as 1 incomplete quart. It's probably just a little over a pint, but I didn't can it. I just threw it into the refrigerator. That is all I have for you guys today. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment down below and let me know, do you pick all of your tomatoes at the end of the year? I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, y'all.